Hello and good morning. Thank you for listening. My name is Kate Maloney. I'm here at the Entrepreneur Center in the podcast room. I do know that I am passionate about connecting people that need resources with the resources that nobody knows about. So, if any of you guys know, UC Irvine has a going abroad, a UCI abroad, study abroad center. Okay? Do you know where it is? Mm-hmm. It's in the SSI building on the second floor. So that would be across from the Student Center. It's connected to the Division of Career Pathways on Ring Mall. And anyone in the building will just direct you to the office. And they're open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I want to get into some of the different forms of study abroad that they offer. I'm sure most of you, if you do know about study abroad, you've probably heard of UCEAP. And stands for University of California Education Abroad Program. So that's a study abroad program that is through University of California. But they do offer like third-party programs. So a few of them, if you've heard of Semester at Sea, like UCI students can do Semester at Sea. There's also one called the CIEE. It stands for the Council of International Educational Exchange. I don't know anyone personally who've done that, but I'm signed up for their text messages, and they do like free, it's like you can win a free study abroad. So definitely look into that. And like they do scholarships, and basically UCAP is not the only form of study abroad that UCI students can do. There's so many more, and I'm going to link more of the programs underneath the video, because those are just 3 that I just named. But if you do follow the link, some relevant third-party programs that you might want to look into, there's the Partner Exchange Program, and it's pretty selective and competitive, but if you win, you can get a fully subsidized program, or like a partial subsidized program. So yeah, you can literally go and like get meals and housing paid for, and then you can pay tuition, or you can get tuition paid for, and then you can pay for housing and meals. And I will get into that later, so don't forget about that. But the thing about the Partner Exchange Program is that FAFSA does not follow you. So again, like those are some relevant third-party programs, but I'm going to talk more about UCAP later. So if it's like the money that is the most important to you, which to me too, low-key. There's also the Global Young Leaders Program. You can get that subsidized, but if you get in, you don't find out if your subsidy is gonna, like, you don't find out if you win the subsidy after a couple months after you apply and get in. So if you apply in January and you find out in May that you don't get the subsidy, then you're still going on the program, but you're not getting the subsidized thing. And then there's faculty-led programs. So basically, you don't really apply to those. You can, but you don't typically apply to those. But faculty will bring you abroad for their research. You would connect with a faculty member, and then they would bring you. So that's kind of how you would do that rather than applying. But you can still try. Like, it's just less common. So now I want to get into the UCAP. Like, I just got a few of those third-party programs out of the way in case. I just want you as a listener to not tunnel your vision to UCAP, because that's what I did. For reference, I'm a third year, but I went abroad last year, my second year. I did the UCAP Trinity program in Dublin, Ireland for my fall term, and then I applied to the University of New South Wales spring term in Sydney, Australia, and I did them back to back. So I just didn't want to worry about housing and like, signing a lease and then being like, oh, I have to leave for half of it. And then I knew I wanted to do 2 study abroads anyways, so I just did them back to back. It made it kind of easier. But again, I did those through UCAP, and I didn't really know about the other programs. I knew that there was like Semester at Sea and stuff, but I was like, I don't really want to be on boat. So basically, yeah, I want you guys to know, like, going into it, it's not just UCAP, even though the Study Abroad Center at UCI will predominantly be UCAP because that's UCI is AUC and UCAP is through the UC. So don't forget to ask questions and like know that there's more things out there, like faculty-led programs. Like if you're STEM and you're interested in research, that is so cool. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay, but UCAP is my favorite because it's the most financially friendly option. There's over 150 programs in more than 40 countries, which is really amazing. Like, hello. And then they have more applicable and accessible aid than the other third-party programs. So again, if you're going to look at the third-party programs, just know that if you get FAFSA, like it's not going to be as friendly as opposed to going with UCAP. So I'm biased. I love UCAP, but if you're looking for like working with your professor, like that's a faculty-led program. But that does not mean that you can't do that on UCAP. Like UCAP offers internships. They offer obviously study abroad, but you can do a mix. Like there's so many options on UCAP. I highly recommend just browsing the website because it's called Study Abroad, but you don't always have to study abroad. Like my roommate, she just did an internship in New Zealand, and when I went to Dublin, there was a whole cohort of people also coming from the UCs going to Dublin, but they were working in the parliament, which is like a government internship, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. I didn't know that was a thing. So I highly recommend just browsing in your free time if you're in a lecture and you're bored, just like pull it up, you know? And then the most popular countries are Japan and South Korea. So if you are planning to go there, I really recommend you go and apply early because you can always apply for free. You can fill out the application. It's pretty easy. It looks long, but it's just like, what's your name? What's your middle name? What's your birthday? What's your social security number? Like it's annoying. And then also UCAP is open to everyone on campus. So it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or a non-citizen. Like you can go anywhere. You can do anything. Just talk to people. Like you don't know until you find out. You know what I mean? But again, the process to apply and get into UCAP is literally just first come, first serve, as long as you're in good academic standing. So you can apply to like 50 UCAP programs and you're going to get into all of them. And then as long as you're in good academic standing, like you're good, you know? And then my point is with that is if you don't know, apply anyways, because again, there's going to be a deadline and the spots may fill up before the deadline. And then if you change your mind, you can pull out your application. There'll be a date saying you can pull out your application for free until a certain date. And then after that date, it'll usually be on the first of a month. After that date, it'll be a $500 fee. What most people are afraid of is the money, right? It's expensive. And like, that's not anything I can sugarcoat. Like, it is expensive. But I want you guys to know, because I didn't know this, that the cost breakdown, when you pull up a UCAP program, the cost breakdown, it's not actually, like, accurate. So, essentially, it's going to break it down into, like, food, housing, tuition, book supplies, transport, that type of stuff. And that's for, like, you know, the UCs, UCDC, UCAP, like, they all have that. So the tuition, if you're applying to another university, because again, like there's different types of programs at UCEAP. There's immersive programs where you go to like another university, or there's themed programs where you go to a UC center in another country. For example, I went to Trinity and I went to University of New South Wales. So that was in Dublin and then that was in Sydney. So those were immersive programs because I was immersed in like their society, their school, other students. But then this upcoming year, I'm doing 2 themed programs back to back. So I'm doing Paris and Rome, and I'm going to be in a building, the UC Center Rome and UC Center Paris, and it's just going to be the UC students. So I'm not going to be having class with locals and whatnot. So just be aware, like, there's different programs. But so tuition, that's a set amount. So that's going to be the most important number that you're going to look at, because that's not an editable amount. Like, that's set. Now, food, it's going to give you a budget for food. So, for example, like, your aid and everything is going to go into this cost breakdown. But your food, so if you're aware, like, UCI has a basic needs hub. Lots of other universities around the world would have similar things. Some don't. I'm not going to lie. But you can get food for free at a pantry, and you can eat pasta and ramen for like $1 each. So if you're trying to cut down the cost breakdown for food is not like set. Like, you can change that number based on how you choose to eat. For example, when I went to Australia, University of New South Wales, it was a really like modern school, like even more modern than UCI. And they had similar to the basic needs hub, they had like a food pantry. And they had one with like, they had everything. They even had chocolate. So basically I would go there like every week, every Monday or something, and I would just stock up on vegetables, cereal, the basics. And then they didn't really have pasta, so I would just go to the store, and each bag of pasta was $1 in Australian dollars, which is 60 US cents. So I'm like, okay, period. Like, I ate for so cheap. Like, like, guys, like, you can do this too. Now, next is housing. So if your program sets you up with housing, you're stuck paying that rent. But usually there's a way to get out of that, which I don't really recommend, because that sucks. Like, that sucks. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. So in Australia, I wasn't set up with housing, so I found my own housing. But in Ireland, I was set up with housing, so I was stuck paying that rent that everyone was paying. It was a little over €1,000 a month I had my own room in Trinity. I was on campus, own room, own bathroom, and then shared kitchen and living room. But because in Australia I had to find my own housing, then the cost breakdown for housing was they just took the average rent of a place in Sydney, right? And so Sydney's pretty expensive. So I was like, okay, cool. And they charge you over there by dollars per week, as opposed to here we charge dollars per month. And so I think the average was like $450 per week was the average, or maybe 400. And I found a place that charged me $300. I think it was $350 per week plus some bills. So I paid maybe like between $350 and $400 per week. And again, that's Australian dollars. And every one Australian dollar is equal to 60 US cents. So basically, like, the cost breakdown for housing, I was under the average. And so the money that I got for aid for housing, I was able to keep some of that and put that towards other things, because they give you a sum, because it's like one big cost breakdown, like one big price. And if you're not getting aid for housing, then you're going to pay it. But you can make your cost breakdown cheaper because you're under the average. And just because you're under the average cost does not mean you're living in like a disgusting place. Like, I had a really nice place. It was just like 20 minutes from the school on a bus. But I was closer to the beach, so it was definitely worth it for me. Next, in the cost breakdown, you have like books, supplies, and transport. So I don't pay for textbooks. The following information about how to obtain textbooks is not legal. Do not do this. Use like free websites, or I'll have ChatGPT like summarize my text chapters. Anna's Archive, that's like, you can get your free textbooks on there. And also in Australia, I'm going to talk about this more in another episode, but in Australia, the school, so mind you, UCI pays for textbooks. So they're going to include in their cost how much you pay for textbooks when you're abroad. But when I was in Australia, their school did not run that way. Like, they had no such thing as paying for textbooks because their school policy was if a professor assigns you a reading, then that reading is on Canvas. They used Moodle, but it's the same thing as Canvas. So anytime I'd have to read, I would have it there in my computer for free. It was just like a scanned PDF that it was already linked because the professor does that. And then in Trinity, their policy was anything you read would be in their library database. So it's either physically in their library or like online, or they'll help you connect to the reading with like a neighboring school that they partner with. So again, like, you don't typically pay for books. Like, I never had to pay for any book at all. And again, like, even this goes for UCI. If you're having trouble paying for textbooks, if it's not like one of the textbooks where you have, it's like if you can share it, split the cost. I go in on my first day of lecture and I sit down and I next to people and I introduce myself and I get their numbers and I'm like, hey, do you want to split the textbook? And if it's $50, find 5 people, $10 each. And then if it's an online textbook, you all have it online. Or if it's a physical book, you can just like trade off the book every class. But if it's one of the books where you have like, I have one, it's called VHL for Spanish, where you like, it's an interactive textbook, then obviously you can't split that. So I'm sorry. Oh, another thing is, okay, this was going for the transport thing. Okay, so again, I'm not sure if I'm supposed. The Anteater Insider podcast does not endorse breaking the law in another country or in your country to ride public transportation for free. Do not do this. Only pay for public transport, like, if you have to. So, for example, like in Australia, the train stations had walls. So, like, you would scan your, I had an Opal card, which is a student travel card. So it gives you, like, discounted travel. But if you can also scan, like, your Apple Wallet. So you would scan the Apple Wallet, and then the walls would open, and then you could walk through. And then the people on the train would typically, like, make sure that you paid, unless you would get a ticket. But for the bus, like, it's kind of like a read the room situation. And, like, I was spending, like, 20 Australian dollars a week riding the bus, because I was riding the bus everywhere, to the beach, to school, to friends, you know. But my friend stopped, like, paying for the bus, because it was, like, no one cares. Like, everyone, plus kids ride for free on the bus. And so we were like, maybe they could pass as a child. And no one said anything, so maybe they did, but they did not pay for the bus. Because there was no wall. You know, you just walk on, and you're supposed to tap, but it's okay. But again, if you want discounted travel, get your public transport card for the students. So in Australia, it was called an Opal card. In Ireland, it was called a Leap card. And I'm from the Bay Area. We have, like, a Clipper card. I'm sure there's one. Oh, is it called Wave down here? I don't know. But yeah, find out where you're going. Find out where's the cheap things, and get it and have it mailed to your place. Or if you have friends, have it mailed to them. Again, on the little link, there's going to be a video, how to save money. I recommend you watch that. And then I'm going to talk about, like, once you're abroad, there's, like, quote unquote hidden fees, which suck, not going to lie, but I'm going to explain them. So going out with friends, that's a big thing about going abroad. Obviously, you have no friends and you need to make friends. And how are you going to do that? Except you have to go out with them because they're going to be like, hey, we're going here. Do you want to come? And you're going to be like, yeah, but you're broke, right? So I went to Ireland. It's a pretty rainy country. And rainy countries like Europe in the winter or UK or Ireland, you're going to typically go to like a bar or a restaurant or a pub for your social outings, but that means you're going to be buying a drink or like pub food or small bites, and these can get pricey. So if I were you, and if you feel comfortable, like be the person in the group to suggest the free activities, or to like maybe be like, oh, like, do you want to split something? Maybe, something is like €40, but there's 8 of you there, and so it's like $4, €40 each, right? Is that €5 each? Okay. I'm not a math major. But it's not really too normal to hang out, like, in the university. At least that's what I found. So you might be like, wait, what do you mean we're, like, going out, Because it's like, here, we just hang out at Aldrich Park, and it's free. But, again, it's, like, rainy over there, so you can't do that. Another thing I suggest is get a job while you're abroad. I know it seems daunting because you're like, oh, my God, like, student visa, and then you have to get, like, a work visa or work permit, but honestly, you can do it. Like, I know so many people that did it. I had a friend from France, met her first day of orientation in Australia, and we invited her out, but she said, no, I'm gonna go get a job. And so she did the paperwork before coming, got approved, printed out her resume, and, like, went to the city and went to a bunch of restaurants, passed out her resume. On her 5th resume, she got the job. Like, there was, she's, like, French-Italian, and so there was this Italian place that she applied to. And he was like, yeah, you're free right now? I'll train you right now. And, like, she was like, yeah. And then that was how she funded her study abroad. Like, she went to study abroad knowing she could not afford it. And then she got a job there and funded her study abroad there. Like, it's actually kind of cool because I'm like, as a person who loves, like, plan in advance, I would be like, no, job before, save the money to go abroad, And I was like, okay, like, you did that while you're there. I love that. But that's not to say don't get a job beforehand. I still recommend that. But yeah, again, look up the necessary application process to work. Maybe you don't have one, maybe you do. Figure it out. If you're gonna do that, figure it out. Push for a job and be friendly, and you got this. Another thing to note is be aware of the cultural expectations when you're looking for a job. In the US, it's a lot more common to have a flashy resume and to be very, like, professional. But if you're looking for, like, an average low-wage job, like minimum wage, like a server at a restaurant like she did, or a barista at a coffee shop, something just to get by, kindness goes a lot, like, longer than a flashy resume would. For example, in Ireland, the culture is more based on kindness and, like, if you're a good, like, fun person to be around. And then same in Australia, because culturally Australia is a lot of Irish people, and so just be aware of, like, where you're going and, like, what the cultural expectation is, what the history, like, what type of people are there, and try gauge, like, what the, like, societal norms are, so that you can go in and, like, the people that are hiring you want to see you. They want to hire you because they like you. Okay, and then there's sunny countries. So you meet at the beach, park, markets on the street, other free activities. Look it up. Like, use TikTok, use Reddit. Like, look up what's going on in your area and be like, hey, wanna go here? The amount of times that I would, like, go out for the whole day with friends because there'd be, like, markets in the city, and then we'd chill at the park, and then, there was, like, this free pizza night some restaurant was hosting. Like, it's great. Honestly, it's great. So if you're just aware of things, like, become aware of things, like Reddit, TikTok, talk to people, talk to locals. Locals know the best. And then research how budget-friendly your city is. So when you're in the application process, I wanted to go to Dublin. I didn't fucking know how budget-friendly Dublin was. So I don't know why I didn't, look it up. Because a lot of people would say Dublin's very expensive. And it is. But for students, it's kind of nice because in the surrounding areas, like maybe 2-mile radius all around Trinity, every single restaurant will have a student discount meal. So, or just a student discount menu, right? So if you provide your student ID, you get like a meal that is so cheap. Like, it's crazy. Like a typical meal at one of my favorite burger places. It's called Wow Burger in Dublin. It's off Grafton Street. You'd be paying like €15 for a burger, fries, shake. But me and my friends, I think we paid like €8 for like a burger, fries, and a shake. Like, it was amazing. And then meal prep. It's so cheap, guys. Like, meal prep. Like, the amount of times that I would go to the pantry and I would spend Sunday like meal prepping, or maybe not Sunday, like Monday night after class, meal prep, right? All my free vegetables, and then put them in like little baggies or boxes, like if you have like boxes. And then like vegetables, you can eat them cold, so I didn't really need a microwave, but if you have one, that's great. And then you can be sitting at the park. Your friend can grab a pizza from Domino's, and you meet at the park, and you have your picnic in the park. Like, low key, like, if you want to be cheap, you gotta make it cheap. Like, I low key, I just stopped caring. Like, honestly, if you're with people that make you feel shit for being like on budget, drop those people. They're not your friends. You know what I mean? Like, I commend people for outwardly saying, no, actually, I can't afford it right now. I'm saving my money. Like, okay, if you can afford it, you can still say no. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I have $15 in my bank account. Technically, I could afford a $15 pizza, but I need that $15 to go towards my flight home. You know what I mean? Like, just be smart about your money. Like, you know what I mean? Okay. Now, we're going to go into when you should go abroad. This is low-key important. To maximize on your FAFSA, go during the school year, so that's fall, winter, or spring quarter. Summer terms offer less aid. However, private scholarships would still follow you, and some FAFSA aid would follow you from UCI. So I would recommend talking with financial aid for more info on your aid. But if you're familiar with summer term you at UCI it's kind of similar. So like you would get some aid, but not a lot of aid. You'd be paying more like loans and stuff. So it's similar with UCAP. If you're going during the summer, you'll get some aid, but it's not going to be fully funded with as much aid as you would normally get, just because the way FAFSA looks at it is like, why are you studying during the summer? Like, you don't have to do that. And then keep in mind that you apply to go abroad 9 to 12 months in advance. So the amount of times that I meet a transfer student who say, "Oh my God, cool, you went abroad? I think I'm gonna look into that, but I'm brand new this year, so I'm not gonna look into that for a while." And I'm like, "Girl, you're gonna miss your chance to go abroad because you're a third year transfer student and it's fall quarter. If you want to go abroad for fall term your senior year, you gotta apply now. Or if you want to go abroad for your very last quarter, spring quarter at UCI, you gotta apply by like winter, spring quarter of your third year." One thing that I love about going abroad is it's kind of unique, and that means that there's scholarships for you, because people love to give scholarships to unique students, So again, UCAP is through the UC curriculum, so it's most aligned with your courses, and you will either get your transfer credit to your degree directly, I did that, or you can get them transferred as elective credits. I can actually talk about this because this is looking important. There's tools when you go abroad to petition your courses. So before I went to Trinity, I looked up the Trinity course schedule from 2024, I think it was. And I looked at all the courses because typically each year they're similar. And I petitioned maybe 10 courses. And my social science advising team got back to me saying 5 of these are not going to count towards your degree, but these 5 would. And I said, okay, cool, I'll take those 5. So when I got to Trinity, and the advising team told me directly, like, which classes would apply to which area on my degree. So, like, upper div, lower div, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I took the classes that I knew would transfer. And I had about 10 classes because I was like, obviously, I'm going to get there. And some of them are going to be full or they're not going to be offered that year because I'm taking them from the year prior. So I really recommend if you want your aid to fully be if you want to maximize on your aid, that means you have to make sure you're taking courses that go towards your degree or your elective credits, which means you need to prep. Okay. Internal scholarships and external scholarships. I love scholarships. They're my favorite. UCAP offers a global scholarship, and it's kind of like when you apply to the UCs, it's like one general application, and then it applies to like hundreds of scholarships. You can typically get up to $2,000 with that one. So if your cost breakdown, like think about your cost breakdown, think about all the things that you're going to edit yourself, like housing, food, transport, but then your $2,000 can apply to your tuition. To maximize on this scholarship specifically, you can wait to go abroad until fall because this scholarship opens in fall. For example, I just applied to this because I'm going in winter and spring quarter. So I just applied to this scholarship just maybe 2 weeks ago. But my friend, she wants to apply to go abroad in the summer, this coming summer, but she didn't know about the UC EAP Global Scholarship. So she's going to apply she's going to go, if she goes abroad in the summer, she's not going to be able to get the scholarship because the scholarship is then open next fall. It's due next fall. And it's for people going abroad. So she would have missed that. So I recommend getting on that. Also, scholarships in this portal, in UCIP, they have them for before you go abroad. Most of them are before you go abroad. But they have some for after you come back. And they have specific scholarships for if you did an internship abroad. After your internship, you can apply for scholarships too. And you can also apply for a stipend abroad. So talk about all this with your study abroad advising. They're open again like Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4. You walk in, you just say, hey, I want to talk. Play around with the website, figure out what's best for you and which scholarships. Some programs will have some scholarships. Like I know the Social Justice and Activism in Paris has specific scholarships that others don't. But yeah, play around with it. And then there's the UC scholarships. This is through Scholarship Universe. If you don't have an account, just look up like financial or UCI financial aid Scholarship Universe, and it will direct you to like make an account, put in your UCI credentials and whatnot, and then you can. It's like a filter system, so you put in all your stuff, and then it will let you know what scholarships apply to you. And some of these are like the general applications where you apply generally, and then it applies to like 1 million scholarships for you, which is amazing. Some of these would also be like private, so they would come directly to, they would disperse a check to you, and that you can use it to go abroad or to do whatever. And then the UCI has a finances page, so UCI Study Abroad Finances, and then that will tell you like how much money typically goes towards which program. And again, that's just UCAP and all the other programs that UCI offers. But keep in mind that UCAP is the most aid friendly. Then there's like external scholarships. So basically Google, like you can just Google any scholarship and like it's actually crazy. I didn't really know about that. There's a flagship scholarship that I'm applying to. It's due in November. There's like a starfish scholarship through attorneysssc.com. It's like if you're interested in legal and law stuff. There's pre-med study abroad programs. These are all external, so they're all like third party. Just search in keywords like pre-med, first gen, low income, non-traditional, pre-law. Like you can find so many. It's actually insane that we're all still paying for school because there's so many scholarships out there. It's crazy. Speaking of scholarships, UCI has SOP, Scholarship Opportunities Program. It's in the science library. I think it's on the 5th floor, but talk to the people, and they'll send you abroad. Some of them will send you abroad if you win the scholarship, and it'll be like abroad, do masters in Cambridge or whatever. So that's also an option to go abroad after UCI. And then just to get involved with like the UC Study Abroad Center here, there's like fairs, there's so many things going on. So I recommend going to the website to get on the mailing list and everything. Again, just like go in person or check the website I'll put the link like under the video. So register for the Instagram, follow all the things, put on your post notifications, get on the mailing list. They post resources, opportunities, reminders, scholarships. They post events. There's a fair coming up November 6th, 2025. Go and network and ask, talk about them, talk about like all the people that work there, like students, they would have gone abroad already. So just like ask and go to the events and go to advising. I like can't stress that more. They'll also know which scholarships are more popular. So if maybe you don't want to apply to the ones that are the most popular because they're getting a lot of people, they'll also know which scholarships are the most successful at awarding people the money. And again, this is like the UCAP scholarships I'm talking about because that's through the UC program. Okay. And then again, if you don't know where the study abroad office is, it's in the 2nd floor of the SSI building. So that's it for today. I really hope you guys go abroad because I didn't know it was a thing until I found out. And I found out through the summer bridge program before my first year of UCI. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I ended up going abroad and I feel like a completely different person in the best way possible. And I didn't mention this earlier, but going abroad will offer you skills you can't develop here. Going abroad is such a unique experience. It takes, and I think a lot of people on campus can relate to this, but it takes being in a completely new setting, being the outsider, not knowing a language or not knowing the current political climate there or not knowing societal norms. Like, for example, in Australia, flip-flops are called thongs. So, like, men would be, like, talking about their thongs, So it's, like, it's so interesting. And, like, when I first got to Australia, like, I would, like, be on the bus looking around to see where the grocery store is. And I was like, where the fuck is the grocery store? Like, I didn't even know what, name to look for. And so, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I really recommend. It's an out-of-body experience. Literally an out-of-country experience. And getting lost on the train a couple times, like, I don't really know how to put it into words, but it's amazing. I think growing up, going to school in the U.S., like, we talk a lot about the U.S., and the U.S. is so central, and even though we know other countries exist, it's like we think of ourselves as, like, the center, and it's only America, and other countries, yeah, they're there, but they're not as cool, and, you know, whatever. But then it's like living in another country, I'm like, wait, I could live here, you know? Like, why can't I move? Like, why don't we talk? Why don't we normalize travel more often? Why over 50% of Americans, I'm pretty sure, don't have a passport. I'm pretty sure I saw that statistic. I just think it's a really cool experience, and I really, really hope that you leave the podcast thinking, damn, I can do this. And you can. And you can. Literally, you can. I believe in you.